The Browns, I don't know, they're arguably, I think, one of my favorite teams to watch in the league right now.
Joe Flacco, baby! Broadway Joe!
The one thing I know about Joe is that he is going to give his coaches confidence. You're never going to see another guy throw a football as pretty as Joe Flacco throws a football.
Cleveland Browns Super Bowl champion! It's a bad day to be a Bear!
You know what? It may just be different this time with the Cleveland Browns. The defense is still dominant as ever, securing their spot as one of the top defenses in the league week in and week out. The Cleveland Browns offense, on the other hand, is growing more competent by the day, which is shocking since they're on their fourth starting quarterback, who is not only a rival franchise quarterback in the past, but quite literally sitting on the couch 4 weeks ago. Even with all of that said, they're still finding wins where it counts and currently have a wildcard spot with a 9-5 record. Let's start with the elephant in the room, Kevin Stefanski. At most, he should be in the Coach of the Year talks, or at least, in my opinion, and at least he should get an extension. In the week leading up to the Browns beating the Bears, 26% of his roster was on IR, and seemingly, that's been what he has had to work with the entire season, more or less. Furthermore, he has had to scheme around not one, not two, not three, but 4 different starting quarterbacks this season thus far. And when life gives Kevin lemons, he makes lemonade, because all of the quarterbacks, except the rookie 5th round pick, have a .500 record and above. Not only is he finding wins with his starting quarterback out for the season, but he still finds ways to score without his starting running back and one of the best running backs in the league, Nick Chubb, who has been out since week 2. You'll find this stat kind of crazy. Even without Chubb and working with backup running backs, the Cleveland Browns are still top 10 at both total rushing yards at 1,732 yards and yards per game at 123.7 yards. Also, I feel that I need to mention the last Browns coach to achieve multiple seasons with a winning record was Marty Schottenheimer from 1986 to 1988, a time where Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley were popular. Lastly, this is the first team since 1950 that have had 4 different quarterbacks lead to a game-winning drive in the same season. And oh boy, did the offense need someone like Joe Flacco, especially with Deshaun Watson sitting out. As of right now, Flacco has played in 3 games, and 2 out of those 3 of Joe Flacco's games, he has tossed for over 300 yards, and in all of them, he has thrown for over 250. As of counting, his passing touchdowns is at 7 touchdowns, and albeit his interceptions are at 5, he's playing out of his mind for a 38-year-old vet that was picked up from the couch a few weeks ago. What's even more mind-boggling is that he comes in clutch more than anyone realizes. For instance, during the 4th quarter of the Browns versus the Bears, Flacco tossed for over 212 yards in the 4th quarter alone. A 38-year-old vet that just came off of the couch. No Browns quarterback has done that since 1991. And another note is he's coming off a back-to-back 300-plus yard game, to which a Browns quarterback hasn't done since 1980. On the receiving side, there have been things cooking up as well. David Njoku is one of Flacco's favorite targets, and Njoku is fighting for every yard. In his last 2 games, starting with Jacksonville, he has had 6 receptions for 91 yards, and against Chicago, he's had 10 receptions for 104. He is absolutely feasting. Of course, we all know how great Amari Cooper is, and Amari Cooper did well too, with 4 receptions for 109 yards and averaging 27.3 yards per reception against the Bears. The bread and butter that has connected everything together is, of course, the defense. Jim Schwartz's defense is nothing short of impressive. It's absolutely nothing to sneeze at. In terms of passing game, it would seem that the Browns have it on lockdown, with first at handing out the least pass completions and first at giving the least amount of yards gained by passing. Even if there is any hope of there being a completion by the opposing team, the defensive backs, Emerson, Delpit, and Newsome are all over the place, with Browns being 6th in interceptions. JOK is a monster too, who appears to be a magician because he pops up everywhere. And of course, Myles Garrett is also a force to be reckoned with, coming in absolutely clutch in a time crunch, and is still one of the most disruptive and dominant players, let alone defensive ends, in the league. Collectively and in tandem, they're first in fewest first downs allowed by passing, first in fewest first downs in rushing, and lowest percentage of drives ending in a score. Now, with all of that noted, will the Browns make it to the playoffs? So far, they have an 88% chance of making it. They have to face the Texans and the Jets in their schedule. So what do you guys think? Comment down below and discuss amongst yourselves. Now, before I go, I'd like to note this. The Browns are 1-0 since the NFL leaked this part of the script last week on their Facebook page. Have a good one.